We're glad to see so many people here tonight, so many students. We're going to have call to order, which this is, and now the roll call.
Nancy Kupka.
Present.
Terry Pavasich.
Here.
Mike Davenport.
Here.
Cheryl Fuller.
Here.
Dan Nicholas.
Here.
Rick Pavanato.
Here.
Simone Black. Oh,
Here.
sorry. Here. And
You're starting for a minute.
Rail Bongo.
Prevail Bonga. Thank you.
We have a quorum. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So that it gives the kids time to get to class. Oh, no.
Thank you.
Hasn't moved.
Our first order of business is approval of the minutes from February 26th, 2018 business meeting and the March 5th, 2018 special workshop meeting.
I move that we accept the minutes from both February 26th and March 5th.
Second.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye. The minutes are approved. This will now be our first reception of visitors, public comment. The meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for comments from the audience. The first reception of visitors, is intended for audience members to address the board about any agenda item on which the board will vote. Is there anybody who wants to address the board about something that the board will vote on tonight? Okay. There will be another reception of visitors after the business of the board to hear what people would like to talk about on any subject. We're going to move on to the recommendations and reports of the superintendent. Dr. Thiele.
Sure. Before we get started on the regular agenda items, as the board knows, over the last week, there's been a lot of conversation around student walkouts in District 99 and across the nation. So I'm providing a report to the board on the student walkouts. So, following the tragic event on Wednesday, February 14th in Parkland, Florida, we had a moment of silence in both of our schools the next morning. In the days following, we began meeting with student leaders about the protests being planned for March 14th. Over the past month, we've been communicating with students and families about potential walkouts and consequences associated with leaving class to participate in a political protest. We received a few dozen emails with questions from students and families before and after the walkout. Nearly all of these concerns were quickly resolved, and our students and families had a good understanding of what to expect. Maybe not an agreement, but an understanding. Following the walkouts, and after being featured by several local and national news agencies, many times with misleading headlines, we received hundreds of emails, social media posts, and phone calls. Some of these were from those that live within our community, many from those that do not have students attending our schools, and the great majority of people we heard from live outside of our community. Either way, our staff has responded to every message received. Many people are reaching out with good intentions and want to support our students and ensure their voices are heard and their First Amendment rights are protected. After responding to these messages, most have agreed with how we handled the walkouts, or at least have understood the district course of action. That being said, this was a new event for schools across the country, and we've learned a great deal over the past week. In the coming weeks, we plan on having a variety of opportunities for students to provide us feedback on ways their voices can be heard, beyond the ways we have already provided, and students with ideas should reach out to their building principals. As there is still some confusion out there around the walkout and outcomes for students, I want to provide some additional information. I will start out by emphasizing that no students were prohibited from, nor did they receive consequences for participating in the protest. The students did, however, receive consequences for not being in their assigned class where they were supposed to be, and/or for leaving class without permission. I'll provide some additional information about how we formed this decision. As soon as we heard the walkouts were being planned by students, we met with several student leaders and offered some alternative options that would not disturb classroom learning. This included sharing that another local-led march is taking place on Saturday, March 24th. It will begin at 11 a.m. in the parking lot at North High. After students confirmed that they were most interested in March 14th as both a memorial and a political protest during the school day, we began discussions with them about how to safely manage the events and how we could help keep them safe. Even now, conversations are continuing with students about ways they can have their voices heard without breaking rules and/or laws in ways that we can help the school. There are several constraints that we are under as a public high school as it comes to political protests. In keeping with sections 26.2A of the Illinois School Code, District 99 considers a number of circumstances to be valid causes for a student's absence. Under these rules, a student protest is not a valid cause for an absence. Page 65 of the student handbook, which is board policy, the board approves that each year, outlines the discipline consequence for an unexcused absence as, depending on the seriousness and/or frequency, one or more of the following may be given: detentions, ordinance fine, or Saturday detention. Excusing a student for a protest would set a precedent. Students in the future could choose to leave class at any moment in which they claim they are in protest. Students could walk out of class for protest for any reason and have the expectation of not receiving a consequence for doing so. And we are already aware of dates being discussed in the coming months for additional protests during the school day. As public citizens, many times exercising your rights comes with a cost. If employed, you lose pay or lose a vacation day. There may be other unintended consequences. We share many of these concepts with our students regularly when discussing freedom of speech. As a public high school, we cannot choose sides of political demonstrations, nor can we authorize some and not others. Working as educators during the school day, we also cannot endorse nor participate in political activities. What we can, must, and did do is protect a student's constitutional right to protest and keep them safe in the process. A walkout is not a school-sanctioned event. We support our students' First Amendment rights, and with that in mind, students did not receive a consequence for exercising their rights. Over 1,100 students, or about 20% of our student body, did choose to walk out, even though they had been made aware of the consequences of leaving class to do so. Students who left class received a single 1-hour detention. The same consequence applied anytime a student leaves class without permission. We have chosen to be consistent in upholding our school rules. We are responsible for maintaining an environment that serves the needs of all students. And I believe the structures we have created around the student-led event provided for both students' First Amendment rights and upheld our responsibility to provide an appropriate educational environment on that day and into the future. Our students wanted to participate in an authentic political protest. Last week, that was allowed to happen in an authentic, safe, and supportive way that can be replicated at any time a student or group of students feel they need to exercise their First Amendment rights about any topic that matters to them. I am extremely proud of our students in the way that they planned the event and represented themselves. I look forward with anticipation of the great things that they will continue to do. They learned firsthand how to engage in a civic activity, and they did so with class and with grace. Our students understand if they feel strongly enough for a cause and break a rule while expressing their views, they should expect that there will be some consequences. As students have said, not all, but some students have said, if we're not accountable to anything, it probably doesn't matter that much to us. We work each day so that each and every one of our 5,000 students has a voice and are represented. It is not our role to tell our students what to think. It is our role to teach them how to think. Finally, there's a lot of people I would like to recognize over the last month of working on this. I'm proud of the staff in District 99 who provided a safe and supportive environment for student protests last week. The community resources provided by the Village of Downers Grove, the safe environment ensured by the Downers Grove Police Department, the support of our school community, all of those who cared enough to reach out to one of our school leaders with their concerns, our Board of Education for supporting our staff and students, the 3,900 students that chose to stay and remain in class for their own individual reasons, and the 1,100 students that stood up for what they believed in by walking out and accepting the consequences that came with that decision. Thank you for allowing me time to reflect and record the last week's events. So with that, I'm going to turn over the next item over to Pete to discuss 2018-19 staffing.
Okay, Dr. Thiele. So, as the board knows, we've undertaken a little bit of a different process this year in outlining for you the curricular changes, the special ed requests, as well as the overall staffing that we have typically done in one meeting in March. So, this meeting here culminates all of that work over the last 2 months. Gina has already given us what used to be our Section 2 area of the courses that were not running, the classes that are below 20 that we are running, new courses, etc. Scott Wugazer gave us the Section 3 materials on CSSS, staffing requests that were being made. So the memo that I prepared for the board kind of summarizes for us the overall FTE when we talk about the above the line and the below the line FTE. Is that better for you? We're good? Okay. Thought you were trying to tell me something about the audio, so. Okay. All right. All these hand gestures going on behind the scenes. I'm not sure what was for me and what's not. So we have 0.8 FTE above where we were a year ago in the kind of above the line and additional supports. And then overall, because of the CSSS and special ed positions that Scott Wugazer outlined in the previous meeting, for the FTE, when we look at that bottom right box in the chart, we're up 9.5 FTE from where we were a year ago, with most of this FTE, again, going to support students in various ways, and some of it's special education. And remember, Scott outlined for us how we are recouping costs for that by bringing students back into the district. We're receiving tuition from another district, and so much of that FTE is offset by the ways that Scott outlined for us in the last meeting. So then this evening, we have kind of that summarizing chart for you that has the above and the below the line. And then with that, well, first let me just stop there because I know this is kind of a lot all at once. Any questions on the chart or the summary of the FTE for next year?
Do you foresee the number staying at that level then for the next couple years, or is it going to deviate after the next year?
That's a great question, Rick. I know that the various buildings have talked a lot about the CSSS area and helping with the social emotional and those kinds of things. I believe, and I know Scott has meetings with those folks regularly, that we're probably where we would want to be for the foreseeable future. I think they had identified areas of concern and areas of need, and I think both buildings feel like this addresses it, so I wouldn't anticipate more growth in those areas as we would move forward. It would really now be just as our enrollment fluctuates up and down.
Okay.
And then beyond that, of course, is special education, where it's, it's very dependent on the needs of the students that come to us.
I guess my question was, I just wondered if you had you hate to hire 10, then release 10 next year.
Sure.
Then next year you're looking for 10 more and you become the school that, maybe versus maybe just taking 1 year and running a little leaner, a little heavy.
Sure.
Down the road, you'll even it out. That was my only concern since it was such a big jump.
Well, and most of this jump, really, that .8 is really due to enrollment.
Okay.
Which is less than one full-time position. And if we were to look at it, it would really be like .2 in this department, .2 in that department. And we have a lot of part-time folks that we just slide up and down,
Okay.
depending upon what the need of the building is. So some of the folks that you see on the list for one of our other sections that we'll
Right.
get to here in a moment are folks that we are releasing
Right.
because the part-time position is smaller than what they currently have, but they'll have the opportunity to come back for that smaller job. But because it's less, we have to release them.
Every year, honorably.
Honorably release them, yes. Okay? All right, so then moving on from that chart, we provided the documents for you that give you the list of the individuals that we will be, the non-tenured teachers that we will be releasing. We provided the school code regulations behind how we go about doing that. Then we have the document that shows all of the non-tenured staff that we're recommending to move forward and be rehired for next year in years 1 through 4, as well as the fifth-year full-time renewals. Those are the individuals who, when they work day one of the 18-19 school year, have tenure in the district. It's one of those unique things in terms of we used to say they were tenured when we approved them here, but the reality is they're not tenured until they work the first day of the next year. So legal has coached us up to change the terminology to say that you're approving fifth-year full-time renewals. So that's what that Section 6 document looks like, and it's different from the way we've done it in the past.
Thank you, legal.
So with that, I would entertain any questions.
So two things. One, the Education Association president, they were notified about this. So what
Yeah.
was feedback from our Education Association?
They had no concerns with the terms of who was being released and who's being brought back forward. They're very thankful for the positions that are being added, especially in the area of CSSS to support our students. So there were no red flags on their part.
And then the memo says that much of the cost of the additional FTE is covered by bringing students back in to district. When you say much, is that?
Net additional cost is somewhere estimated to be around $150,000 in new salary.
And we don't have any issue covering that
Mark
additional?
Salem says we have no issues in covering that.
Okay.
And our student-to-teacher ratio remains relatively the same.
And in the proposed, yeah, student-to-teacher ratio is the same. And in the proposed budget that, the budget forecast, that number was already in there because he knew that he had met with Scott early on as they were working through this. So that was already factored in for the numbers you've seen.
Good.
Any other questions?
So I know there's been a couple of meetings of the, I don't know what we're calling it officially, the safety committee looking at potential safety concerns. None of those ideas that are being looked into are reflected in these
Right.
FTEs yet.
This is certified staff.
Okay.
So later on, as we get closer to the summer, there's another budgeting process where we bring you, what we're looking at doing for next year, and that will contain that. We're also, in those safety committees, the board asked us to look at additional security resource officers, so that conversation is still ongoing with the safety committee, which also includes representatives from the Downers Grove Police Department. So we're working through that still.
All right, then just a last quick note I want to make for you. The Section 5 document has been updated since it was posted on Friday. Does not change the FTE in any way, but as the buildings were looking to fill various positions, we have Janet Stock, who was originally listed as a .6, will be a .7 next year. So that's reflected in the updated document. I just wanted to make sure that if you had not noticed that change did occur.
Can't approve it now. That's
That's
a
it.
deal breaker for me.
A lot of moving pieces. Any other
Yes.
questions? Thank you, Mr. Tice. Facility plan community engagement update.
Well, tomorrow we'll know what, at least what the next outcome is.
The ultimate community engagement.
The ultimate in community engagement. Very good, Mike, yes. So then we'll figure out what comes next one way or another after that. But we did find out today that it's officially certified, whatever the results are, on the morning of April 9th, right?
April 10th, they will actually publish.
They'll publish it.
That's what they say.
April 10th, it'll be published, so. But I will call them on April 9th, once their meeting is done, and see if I can get some insight in advance of our board meeting on that night, so.
We just take a moment and recognize a lot of the community members and parents of our students who have really gone out and advocated for us in the master facility plan. Of course, we have people who don't want us to approve the master facility plan, but really, we've had just a lot of volunteers who've spent a lot of time and a lot of resources advocating for us, and we would be remiss if we didn't say thank you to them.
Well, and I whether they're for it or against it, I think that the community has really embraced understanding it and asking a lot of good questions and getting them to us so that we could add them to our FAQs. So, you know, the goal of the board, at least when I arrived here a couple of years ago, was to inform our community and ultimately get their opinion through a referendum of some sort. I feel like we've done that. Whether people are in favor of it or not, or in the middle, I feel like they know what the information is out there, that they can speak to it, that they can voice their opinion around the information that they've been provided.
Have we had freedom of information requests?
3 received and 3 responded to.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our consent agenda today. I would like to remove item D, acceptance of donation, District 99 Education Foundation grants. Is there any other item that any other board member wishes to remove for further discussion? And actually, not even further discussion. I just want to recognize, again, the foundation for their continued support of our teachers and our students. So, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes A, personnel report, 2018-2019 fifth-year full-time renewals, 2018-2019 non-tenure full-time renewals, 2018-2019 non-tenure part-time renewals, appointment certified, appointment classified, transfer position classified, leave of absence classified, B, personnel report, retirements classified, resignations classified, C, financial pages, D, we'll address later, E, Illinois High School
you can put
Association
D back in.
membership.
Put it back in. We
I
just
said
want
what
to
I
talk about it. Oh, okay.
Okay. D, acceptance of donation, District 99 Education Foundation.
And E.
I did E.
Oh, he did E.
You did?
That was before.
Okay, we have a...
I'll second the motion.
Dan seconds the motion.
Thank you. Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller. Aye. Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the consent agenda passes. Moving on to recommendations for action, the resolution authorizing notice of honorable dismissal of non-tenured teachers other than final year probationary teachers.
Pete, anything you want to add to this?
No, this is just kind of to Rick's question before. These are the individuals that we are releasing either because they served us as a long-term leave of absence substitute, or we do not have the same level of FTE for them that we had this current year.
And some of them may come back in a different capacity.
Correct.
Yeah.
I move we adopt the resolution authorizing notice of honorable dismissal of non-tenured teachers other than final year probationary teachers, and that the president and secretary be authorized to sign same.
Second.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the motion carries. Moving on to the theater, craft, and acting classes department change.
This is what Gina brought last month as a response to matching up in our curriculum course guide with the Illinois state standards. I don't think, Gina, have you received any questions? I don't think we've gotten anything, so.
The only question I had was, I through this process, I would hope that the teachers that get shifted, I know they're going to be answering to 2 bosses, and sometimes that's not a good thing. So I would hope that in this process, that they still are that observation part of it is still being followed through on that.
We're definitely working through some of the details with that. We have a couple of other teachers that are shared between a couple of departments, so we have a precedent that we follow.
Yeah.
But certainly, we're considering all of that, and I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I move the Board of Education approve the theater, craft, and acting classes department change from English and communication to fine arts.
Second that.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to the renewal of the transportation contract with First Student.
Yes, we've asked Jeree to come and present on Mark's behalf here some of the quick highlights of our yearly renewal for our First Student transportation contract.
Yes, well, this is our annual renewal of our student transportation contract with First Student. As you can see, First Student is asking for a 2.5% increase for next year. We had anticipated 2.1, same as CPI, but we feel that the 2.5 is a reasonable request.
Is it my imagination, or have we had a lot fewer complaints
We have had, right,
about transportation?
yes.
Seems like it's gone smoother at the beginning of the school year, too.
Oh, yeah.
Even
Since I don't
considering,
remember it being a problem this fall,
No.
like it has been historically.
and considering we shook it up, the schedule with change in the day of late starts that we did, if you remember, we did a time before, or final exam week where we did a double run, an early run and a late run, and we've also added on those late start days additional stops. We've thrown a lot at them this year to respond to our students' needs and our parents' requests, and they've done a great job in meeting our needs.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we take
Renew the transportation contract with First
yes,
Student?
the boy, it must be catching.
Yes, sorry.
The transportation contract with First Student.
Second the motion.
Dan seconds.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to old business, the policy committee, second reading.
These were the same policies that were presented last month. I haven't received any questions beyond what we discussed the last time. So these came from the policy committee with a recommendation to approve them. Many of them are cleanup. There's not a lot of substance in many of these. Just a lot of grammatical changes. That's the majority of these at this point. So the administration is recommending that the board approve all of these changes.
Okay. We all came to a kind of a boring meeting so far. Okay, we're going to move on
We need a
then.
motion to.
We need a motion
I'm
from
sorry, we need a motion.
somebody from our
Yeah, it can't just be
policy committee
okay.
would be good.
I make a motion to approve the updates to the board policies as listed.
I'll second.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the second reception of visitors. This is the second reception, which is intended for audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to Community High School District 99. Comments are going to be limited to 3 minutes. We've got a lot of people, I think, who are going to want to speak, so we're going to ask you to stick to 3 minutes. To provide all of you an equal opportunity to speak. Individuals needing more time should either submit their thoughts in writing to Ms. Nidek or to Dr. Thiele. Visitors addressing the board need to come to the microphone, which is over here.
Over here?
And we need you to state your name, and we need you to spell your name, please. And I want you to know that these are being that the proceedings are being tape recorded, and any comments you make will be on that recording. And then the presiding officer, which is me, I reserve the right to modify these protocols if circumstances warrant. And we're going to ask you to observe the protocols that we've laid out today. Those are written up here too. So who would like to?
Might I also want to inform them that just a reminder that There won't be dialogue,
There won't
right?
be right.
It's just addressing the board.
This is a meeting, this is a public meeting, but this is not a meeting with the public. So we'd like to hear what you have to say, but there won't be dialogue back and forth. So who would like to address the
Are you
board?
going first, Matt?
3 minutes, also encompass any questions that you might have.
There won't be questions from the board. There's no dialogue. So you just get to address the board. If there's questions you would like addressed or responded to, you can send them either to Mrs. Nidak or myself.
Would like to go first?
Who's going?
The brave soul that steps up first.
So my name is Elizabeth Rose Spatek, ElizabethRoseSzPytek. And big surprise, I'm here to talk about taxes. No, I'm here to talk about the walkout. So there were many issues with how the district handled the walkout. But I'm here to specifically speak about the punishments. As Dr. Thiele clearly does not know, as he gave me a cookie-cutter response, near identical to what he said today, I am absolutely willing to be punished for my political beliefs. I have had run-ins with cops for standing for what I believe in, which is not, as the district has so condescendingly described, a badge of honor, but a mere statement of reality. Over the last 3 months, I've received at least 10 unexcused absences. All of them are from volunteering at the Literacy Center, which I'm apparently pretty terrible at signing into. However, I've yet to receive a single punishment for this. So I ask all of you to look at me and tell me that my detention from walking out is from being absent and not for stating my political beliefs. If you say that it is, you're either lying or a fool. So until I, and to a different extent, all other students, properly receive punishment for all unexcused absences, the district is effectively punishing us for free speech. So please, give me 10 plus hours of detention, and then I'll serve my time for the walkout.
Jackson Kamidulski, JACKSONKAMEDULSKI. This morning, I took part in a forum at Downers Grove South. This forum was supposed to be an open exchange of ideas between students, administration, and teachers. This was far from the reality. During this forum, students were given no opportunity to speak or ask questions. I feel as though this is an insult to me as a student. My question is, will there be another forum where students can voice their opinions to the administration through open participation and discussion?
Mark Alvarez, MARCALVAREZ. I want to start off by saying I wrote a thing about the facility plan. I hope everybody votes yes tomorrow. But what I'm really here to talk about today is today's forum. So this morning, as a lot of people in this room know, today's forum, it focused heavily on the importance of reporting suspicious behavior. However, in Parkland, Florida, school shooter Nicholas Cruz was reported dozens of times to both local law enforcement, who made multiple visits to his home, and the FBI. He was also reported to the school, and in one call was referred to as a potential school shooter in the making. My question then is this: considering how reporting has been shown not to stop these style of attacks, how am I or any student expected to feel safe? Today, a lot of half measures were heard, but I did not hear anything that is going to reassure either myself or any of my fellow classmates that we can attend school without having to be constantly vigilant of an attack and can be in an environment where we can learn free from threats of violence. Thank you.
All right, first off, my name is Cassandra Tepe. That is CASSANDRATEPE. In reference to the safety forum this morning, although I haven't gone, I've heard the majority of this. I didn't go because I had other things happening, but I have heard the majority of students say that it was a waste of time to go and that the forum was not a discussion about gun safety in schools like we thought it was, but instead a lecture about the fact that we should instead be friendlier to lonelier students, join tons of clubs, and not glorify violence by recording fights. While I agree on some of the points made that I've heard, I lean more towards the majority of students in thinking that this did absolutely nothing except clear a detention for many. Despite the walkouts being about gun violence and safety, the word gun was not used a single time, nor was there any word about how our school planned to take measures to protect us from gun threats, suspicion, and the actual event of a shooting. It is very unrealistic to tell many 14 to 18-year-olds that it is their responsibility to just be nice and social, and that doing so would lessen their chance of a school shooter coming and shooting them. And that is what many of us felt was being said in the forum. No high schooler would willingly try to make friends with somebody they're afraid might shoot them or the people they care about. Overall, many of the ideas suggested during the forum won't help any more than what students are already doing. And overall, many of us have felt like our voices have been suppressed or have gone unheard, such as the extreme policing of what was said during the forum, and the fact that many students weren't able to actually say anything during it. So my few questions to you as our school board, honestly, what can we do as students to actually use our voices and help with the safety of our school? And what are you as our administrative board planning to do to ensure our right to feel like our voices are being heard and the safety of our threats from inside and outside of school, past just locking the doors and telling us that we should be nicer to others? Because at this point, clearly by the amount of students here alone and the posts on social media, the majority of those in and out of our community are not even close to satisfied with what's been done so far.
Okay, my name is Sarah Barber, Sarahbarber, and we're just going to continue this talking about the forum thing. Okay, so I was a member of the student panel at this morning safety forum. In an email received on Friday, March 16th, parents were made aware of the following, quote, "On Monday, March 19th, during the late start times, we will ask the student leaders, along with members of the administration, to facilitate a conversation about school safety here at DGS from 8 to 9 a.m. Students who choose to participate in this forum will be able to count that time for serving in detention. All students are welcome to come and share their ideas," end quote. Contrary to this email, there was no discussion. A forum is defined as an assembly, meeting place, TV program, etc., for the discussion of questions of public interest. Again, there was no discussion. As members of the student panel, we were told that after displaying the link to the Google form, that would be the end of the forum. However, we finished with a lot of time to spare, and instead of taking any questions from the hands that were raised, the three facilitating administrators instead talked about last Monday's safety conference. The students of the panel were not made aware of this, and this made me embarrassed to be a part of this so-called forum. It is appalling to me that as a member of the student panel, we were not informed of these closing remarks, especially when they seemed geared towards discouraging the student audience's participation. Perhaps the most disconcerting thing was the lack of discussion about guns and gun violence in schools. Given that this is the most prevalent issue regarding the topic of school safety in our society today, I find it abhorrent that this was not mentioned in the forum. If you look around and see all of the students here tonight to speak about these issues with the forum, or more accurately, I would call it a lecture, it is painstakingly clear that the administration has made a significant misstep in handling the situation, and we, the students, look to you to fix it.
Hi, my name is Faith Leilani Barr. I'm going to skip over spelling my name because that's a little complicated. Faithbarr. So this morning I left the discussion feeling unsatisfied, disrespected in a way, and overall betrayed. Overall, the discussion was not even a discussion. Many of my peers and I felt that it was a presentation showing students what the school has done well, as if we deserved to give you a pat on the back in some sort of way. It truly felt as though the school was there to push their own agenda, and it felt ingenuine, scripted, and propagandist. Students believed that this would be a discussion and it was advertised as such, but in reality it was not, and many students felt betrayed and that they genuinely would have valued a detention more. Many of my peers and I have discussed that many of the topics this morning danced around and even dismissed one of the main reasons for the walkout. While gun reform was not the only reason, we were also standing in solidarity for the victims of Parkland. We want change, and we felt that you weren't willing to have an open discussion with us and hear what we actually have to say. You claim that this was student-led, but this was heavily influenced and heavily scripted. I also have a few questions, but I'm sure you guys can't answer them right now. Where did you get the kids for this panel, and why was the age group only sophomores and juniors?
My name is Grace Curry. That's GRACECURRY. So Downers Grove South held a forum this morning to facilitate a conversation about school safety. However, as one of the over 200 students who attended, I can attest that this did not happen. Also, it should be noted that Downers Grove North was not given the same opportunity. Emails encouraging students to come displayed the event as an opening to have a discussion and to allow for their voices to be heard, but this was simply not the case. The forum allowed no questions or input from the audience. Every movement, in order for its success, needs to define a problem, give clear solutions, and create and uphold a particular outcome. However, before we can truly address the problem and implement solutions to create this outcome of better school safety, we must first address the problem with the lack of conversation as demonstrated by today's forum at DGS and any sort of lack at forum of DGN. Refocusing back onto the content of today's forum, as one DGS student wrote on Twitter who is here today, 622 students walked out in protest of gun violence. Number of times gun violence was mentioned, 0. The forum failed to include and allow students to voice their own opinions, both in the audience and on stage, and never addressed the topic of gun violence. Now the thing is, when I shared this concern with Downers Grove South's principal, he said that he didn't really expect it to be about gun violence specifically. And further, as corroborated by students on the board, the administrators were the ones to choose the topics of the forum. Not mentioning the threat gun violence and school shootings is to school safety misses the point of the walkout. We need to recognize that when talking about school safety, an aspect of that conversation is about guns and gun violence. Not even mentioning the subject fails to realize the relevance in our schools, with a sizable number of students at DGS not attending school during our PEP assembly because of the threat of the school shooter. And although this was found to be nothing, the reality of the situation is still one that is incredibly close to home, and it is a reality that we need to take into account. Further, in making the forum in our school's efforts focused on actions the individual can take, such as not letting people in, wearing one's student ID, being more compassionate, and taking drills seriously, you place the responsibility of school safety and ultimately the blame on the individual, failing to tackle the actual sources of the problem, which lies in the system, in the institution, and within our own government. What myself and my peers wanted to do, and what we continue to fight for, is simple: our voices to be heard. Mr. Schwartz asked me during our meeting what further steps I think the school can take. And I mentioned ideas such as active shooter drills, more instructions on what to do during a drill when you're in the hallway or bathroom, and ideas like metal detectors. But I'm only one student. If we as students cannot voice our opinions at a forum claiming to be a discussion, I must ask, when are we supposed to have these important conversations and have our voices be heard? I'd like to end with a quote. Ralph Nader once wrote, "The function of leadership is to produce more leaders," which is why I ask our Board of Educators to listen and create a place and a platform for members of students and the community alike to have these conversations and to voice our opinions and be heard so that we can take steps in order to create a better school safety and environment for our students.
Himalkoshy, Himalkoshy. In his email on March 8th, Dr. Hank Thiel stated, "We believe for students to receive the full civic lessons of what it means to protest, to participate in protest, also requires accepting the consequences for their actions. We were given punishments for opening up our voices to the public, and that is appalling. But I had hope because our administrators promised us a forum on security that would address our concerns here at school. But rather than focusing on the concerns that many students had during the protests, they decided to focus on issues like school involvement, school spirit, and for some inexplicable reason, focusing on the issues that memes can have on our school culture. That type of ideology is outrageous and doesn't focus at all on the concerns that many students had across the school. We need to remember that what the administration does today sets a precedent for both the future administrations as well as future students. And what we've shown to future students is if they want to have an opinion on public outreach and want to voice their opinions, they won't have the support of their administration. I'd request that you look towards Valley View District 365U, which rather than using disciplinary action, decided to assist their students in voicing their opinions on a national level, and allowed their students to do incredible things even though they were faced by threats in their community. This is something we should be working towards, and the actions taken by our administration are deplorable. Our administration has failed us as both educators and leaders.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board?
Hi, my name is Patrick Cash, Patrick Cash. So I want to address the walkout as well as the forum this morning. For the walkout, something I want to focus on that's kind of positive is I think you guys did a good job, as well as our administration and the email that was sent to us, of giving us a clear cut of what to expect. So I think that when it said in the email of the consequence of the detention, I think that was taken overall well. From the feedback that I've received from talking to my fellow peers, that a lot of people felt that they should be punished for their beliefs, and a 1-hour detention is worth it to express your beliefs as far outside the school. So a lot of people seemingly were okay with the detention. And I also want to address, as part of the forum, I think a lot of people going into the forum were expecting something a little different, as we've heard. So going into the forum, a lot of people, as the email said, it said it welcomes students to come and share their ideas. So a lot of people were expecting a kind of more productive session, because the whole goal of the walkout was to be productive in the future and make a change. And this seemed like a step in the right direction as far as being productive toward what we want to and what we believe in. And then going to the forum, it wasn't really a forum. It was more of, seemingly, from also feedback I heard from many students and many peers, that it was more of a lecture given by the administration through the students that were on the panel, not so much a place for people to voice their opinions, which I think what a lot of people want is just a place to voice their opinion, because it is a very strong issue on both sides of the issue. So I just wanted to pose a question as to what will be done in the future to allow students to express their opinion exactly. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Samantha Gualiardo, SAMANTHA GUAGLIARDO. I'd like to remark that upon receiving the email from Dr. Thiele, I was proud of my school. The email which stated that there would be a safety forum entitled A Shared Responsibility. I thought it would be a really significant and impactful opportunity for students, not even necessarily to speak out, but to hear about the interest that the school had regarding the issues we had walked out for. But after experiencing the 40 minutes that we were spoken to today, I knew that none of that was the case. Though I understand this forum was the equivalent of a detention and was not designed to be something enjoyable for the students, I do sincerely believe that the structure of this forum was done more in the interest of protecting the school administration and giving them something to have said that they talked about, and give themselves the opportunity to give this to a group of students, rather than actually educate or hold a discussion like it had seemed to advertise in the email. I also think that it was a mistake to have it be the equivalent of a detention rather than something the whole school was generally invited to and have nothing to do with the walkout, simply because the topics addressed in the forum had very, very little to do with what I know a lot of people were doing in the or standing up for in the walkout. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Jankowski. That's
KELLYJANKOWSKI. I was also one of the students. I was a part of the panel at this morning's so-called forum, and we were, as student panelists, we were expecting some sort of follow-up discussion. That's what we were told in the planning of this forum. And when that didn't happen, we asked the administration why afterwards, because a lot of students expressed to us how disappointed they were that there was no post-discussion, and we agreed with them, so we asked why they didn't let that happen. And their response was that they were afraid the questions would be too political and they couldn't answer that. And they also said that they weren't allowing questions because we didn't have a lot of the answers. But my question was, how did they even know what the students wanted to ask? If they keep assuming that they're knowing what we're saying, like, how did they know that we were going to ask political questions instead of voicing our concerns or maybe offering ideas on how to keep our school board safe? So really, why did they not let us ask the questions that we wanted to? Another point I wanted to address is that I understand why we were punished for leaving class, because it's an unexcused absence. It was put in our handbook. But a lot of other districts in our state did not punish their students for walking out of class, and that's one of the reasons that we were highlighted in the media, was because we were one of the few that did. Those other districts do have policies, as so does every school, for not being excused for leaving class. So how come we were the one school, or maybe two schools in a whole wide variety of the nation, that decided to punish their students instead of encouraging them to use their voice and speak out, when they all have the same rules in the handbooks as we do? Thanks.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board?
To speak again. Please.
All right, I'm Max Schmidt-Bailey, MAX-SCHMIDT-BAILEY. So my thoughts might be a little jumbled, but I apologize. I'd just like to make it clear that all of the students here are incredibly proud of all our actions throughout the last week or so, and we feel no shame or fear in any consequences or anything else that we've dealt with throughout the past week or two. And I personally do believe that the punishments, the detentions, are justified, because, I mean, we did leave school in the middle of a class, so to me it does make sense. But consequences come with that, and I've said this before, this is just my personal thought, but looking throughout the history of this country, people have dealt with much worse when having to speak their opinions, and I'm not worried about just one detention. I feel like it's justified. And I'd also like to say that we'll vote for our safety and we'll make change, even if it isn't handed to us. Thank you.
Elizabeth Rose-Pittek again. To that point, something that keeps getting brought up is that we need to be taught consequences, and that our actions have consequences and all that. And I would like to remind you that many of us, including myself, are 18, and it is an election year. And I will vote on people. And I know other students will as well. Because we take our safety, our peers' safety, our friends' safety, our strangers' safeties, we take them seriously. And if you will not protect us, if you will not let us voice our opinion, if you will not serve us, we'll find people who will. I would also like to reiterate that I agree that the punishment in an ideal situation would be justified. But simply that my point is, you can't punish us, you can't say you're punishing us equally when the punishment is not equal. Thank you.
Superintendent Tepe again. I do want to make one last comment that I forgot to make earlier. We have our Mustang way of being respectful, responsible, and engaged. And I know a lot of the students here especially try to live up to that. We'd like that to be reflected by our administration. We want to be respected for our voice and what we choose to, and how we choose to use it, and our ideas on our school safety. And we want to feel like the administration is responsible for and living up to the responsibility of our safety and of listening to us. And so far, we have not heard that. And we have not felt that. So just as much as us students should live up to the Mustang way, so should our administration. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none?
Can I close with a couple of comments here?
Sure, but I was just going to say, hearing none, we're going to close the...
Reception.
Reception of visitors.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'd have to be deaf to not realize that we missed the mark today at South by a wide margin. So, Principal Schwartz, I ask that you meet with your administrative team tomorrow and figure out how we can do a better job maybe at getting some student voice the next time around. And
I met with several of these kids today.
okay, so, you know, we're still learning too, right? This is not a movement or an issue that has been seen across the United States in a very long time. So we're happy to learn and improve and get better as well, as we ask of you to do. We wouldn't ask you to do anything that we wouldn't do ourselves. So, so as Principal Schwartz said, it sounds like he already has a meeting planned with his team tomorrow to talk about what we can do next at South. North High, several of their administrators are still working through what their plans would be, so there will be some kind of an opportunity at North High as well. I'm sure they will learn a lot from South High today, plan their event, and expect that to go forward. All the students that are here, or anybody who is, you know, eventually watching this or hears from this, please know that we are not trying to shut down student voice. All right, we do want to hear from you. We do want to hear what your concerns are. If there's some kind of something we can put in place, we want to hear from our students. You guys you're great resources. You all presented very well today. I could have had 40 adults in here that couldn't have all stayed under 3 minutes, and every one of you did. So you make me proud in your ability to speak passionately around the issues that you strongly believe in, and thank you for representing District 99 well tonight. So appreciate all of your comments.
I would just add that we have heard you, that we're going to do better. We're going to look into what's going on. We're going to do better. But I think I speak for everybody in the board when I say, believe me, your safety is at the forefront of every person who serves on the board and every administrator who works with us.
Absolutely.
And we welcome your input, and by all means, I hope you all do go out and vote, because it's your right and it's your responsibility. And I would also encourage you to become active politically, to stand up for what you believe in. There is a march, as you know, on Saturday that's going to originate in the north parking lot. I'll be there. My kids will be there. You're certainly welcome to join us. And I'm very proud of the students who participated in the walkout, and I'm very proud of the behavior of the students who didn't participate in the walkout. So please do realize that we do cherish you, and that we did hear you, and we will do better. So thank you, and thank you for coming tonight.
All right, other business.
Other business. With that, do we have, Don's not here, so we're going to pass on the Len meeting. Report on the School Associations for Special Education in DuPage County. We're continuing to work on finances and maybe some administrative changes. There is another meeting coming up Wednesday. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to attend because of a class I'm taking, but I will have a report next time we meet. District 99 Education Foundation, Terry?
Well, we had Pizza Wars. I hope you all enjoyed pizza because we had over 650 guests, which is the largest participation that we've had to date. We had more than 30 community sponsors, and it was the second highest moneymaker of our Pizza Wars life. And the best crust went to Lou Malnati's. Best sauce went to Nancy's, and the overall best pizza was Papa's in Westmont.
A new winner.
A new winner, thank you. And we are still looking for volunteers to join our board, so if you're interested, please contact myself or Julia Beckman. And the teacher learning grants are due April 6th, and we do have some that we just approved for February, so we are moving right along.
I would just like to again thank the foundation for the wonderful event. I certainly enjoyed it, but moreover for all that the foundation contributes to the school and to our teachers and to our students. We'd be remiss if we didn't say we appreciated it.
Thank you. We enjoy doing it. We really do.
Illinois Association of School Boards. Mike, anything to report?
Yep. Terry and Gina and I attended the spring meeting up at York. It was a good meeting.
Yes, it was. It was a very good meeting.
Challenging us to look at solutions, not just based on how we've done things before, but questioning and reinventing things that need to be reinvented. So that's it.
Okay, upcoming school board meetings. On April 9th, we'll have a special meeting workshop at 7 p.m. at the Administrative Service Center, which is just up the road. Springside, is that the name of the street?
Mm-hmm.
Just up the road on Springside by 63rd Street, if you care to attend that meeting. And then again, on April 16th, we'll have our regular business meeting at 7:30 in the ASC.
Well, our students saw how riveting our meetings are. I'm sure they're just...
Oh, they're...
Well,
they will
I'll
be
tell
lining
you
up.
that some of us are cycling off the school board. So you may want to attend, because it might be something you want to get involved in.
There you go.
Absolutely.
In the future, you can run. It's an honor to serve as the school board. You don't get paid, but it's terrific. It's very, very rewarding. So if anybody has interest in doing so, you certainly can reach out to any one of us about running for school board.
Absolutely.
And please vote tomorrow.
And please vote tomorrow.
Whichever way you vote,
Whichever way
we
you
hope you
vote.
vote.
Yes, we're just saying to vote.
Just vote.
Just vote.
Although it would be nice to vote yes.
That's it, I believe?
That's it.
Okay, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you again for attending.